In this video, let's go through making a part and editing it with an environment that we've never been in and tools we've never used. Here we go. So as we start to model in a completely different way, let's begin by selecting our XY plane, and I'll make a sketch on this. Let's make an open top box. And I'll give this a height of, say, 3.25. Give this a width of, say, 5.5. Make sure that this is horizontal so we're fully defined. We'll deactivate and extrude. I'll extrude this to the mid-plane, just like that. And now we'll choose a chamfer. Make sure that these edges and this edge here are all chamfered. And I'll say a distance of, how about 1.35. And that gives us a really cool triangular face. Now let's say that I want to make this into sheet metal, right? I might want to choose some small fillets. And to make it out of sheet metal, right, I might want to, so we want to make sure that we have some bends somewhere, and then I'll choose a shell, right? And we start to see that if we want to simulate something being made out of sheet metal, it gets complicated fast, because we'll want to have some places where things are separated for the parts of the rip and other parts that we want bent, and it's a lot of work to just model sheet metal. So fortunately, I think I have a solution for you. We'll just take what we started with and we'll go to send to. We'll make sure that our part is saved, and then we'll convert to sheet metal here. And this sends us to a whole new environment. As you can tell, this pops up and I get to choose my main tab. So I can choose my bottom face, and then I choose how I want my sheet metal to be bent. So I can select my bends here. And as I click on these edges, you can tell that there are some purple edges that show up, and these are rips. These automatically know where to separate the parts of the sheet metal to make a realistic flat pattern. So I can continue selecting edges. So every time I select an edge, there's going to be a bend there. And once I've selected all of my edges, I can say OK. And immediately my model is converted into sheet metal. And what's great about sheet metal is not only was that a lot easier than sitting down and trying to model all these little bends and reliefs, but also I can choose flat pattern up here. And when I click on that, I can see the shape that I should cut out to start with. So I know if I cut out this shape to start with, I can bend this sheet metal into my hollow top box, and I also can see the lines as to where I should make all of my bends. Just like that. Now additionally, I can always go back and change dimensions. I can go to this convert to sheet metal in my tree here, and I can say change any dimension that I want. Maybe we'll make this 3.5, and I'll generate to my last feature again. I can simply close my window, and the part is updated to my new dimensions. I also can change the way that I convert it to sheet metal, so I can get rid of the bends that I've made, and I have the ability to say, you know what, I'd rather bend here, and have bends that go all the way around my sheet metal part, just like that. And I want to have one bend here, and bends that continue all the way around my sheet metal part. We'll say OK to that, and I've generated the same part, but because I chose my bends to be in different locations, when I flatten it out, you can see I flatten in a much different shape. You'll also notice that I'll require a different size of sheet metal blank to start out with. So depending on how I choose my bends, I can start out with a larger or smaller piece of sheet metal and have more or less waste. So being able to edit down the tree like this and change the way that we generate our sheet metal part is greatly beneficial, because we can always make changes that save time or material as we go. So that's one simple way to create a sheet metal part, but of course there are many tools available to make sheet metal easy. In the next videos, let's talk about them.